Welcome to the Revolve Kitchen, where we make good food the right way. Today we're making one of my favorite fridge staples, sauerkraut. You really only need 2 ingredients for this recipe, cabbage and sea salt. I add some of my favorite sauerkraut flavorings, fresh dill and caraway seeds. You'll also need a large bowl and a glass fermenting vessel. Start by measuring out your salt. I recommend using 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of salt per head of cabbage, depending on your salt preference. For 2 heads of cabbage, I use 3 tablespoons. Before slicing the cabbage, I like to save 2 larger pieces that will be placed on top of the kraut in the fermenting vessel, and this will provide an extra layer of protection against surface mold. Now cut the cabbage head into quarters, remove the core, and thinly slice those. Then you can proceed to thinly slice the rest of the cabbage and add it all to a large bowl. Fermentation is a process that has been used for a long time to preserve fruits and vegetables through the winter. Fermenting foods like veggies not only makes them easier to digest, but they contain probiotics that are good for the gut, support the immune system, and so many other benefits. As you can see, my large bowl wasn't quite large enough, so I swapped it for a giant bowl. If you don't have a bowl to fit all of the cabbage, you can do this next step in 2 batches. Once all of the cabbage is sliced and in the bowl, I pour over the salt and give the cabbage a nice massage. We're talking deep tissue here. Knead the cabbage thoroughly so that it releases its juices. Now you can let the cabbage sit out for about 30 minutes to draw out more liquid. Once the cabbage is thoroughly massaged and the juices have been released, add 2 tablespoons of fresh dill and 2 tablespoons of caraway seeds to the bowl of cabbage. You can get creative here and use as much or as little flavoring as you like. I like to stick to 1 or 2 spices so that it isn't too overpowering. Now, after a final smoosh of the cabbage, start to pack it into your clean fermenting vessel. Every so often using a fist or a wooden tamper to tightly pack it down. This is where the recipe doubles as an arm exercise. You can skip the gym today, you're welcome. I always have sauerkraut in my fridge, and learning to make it has been a huge money saver. With these 2 heads of cabbage, I can make months worth of sauerkraut that would cost me upwards of $50 at the store. There should be at least an inch of space between the cabbage and the top of the jar. And once all of the cabbage is in the jar, pour in any remaining juices from the bowl and cover the kraut with large cabbage leaves. Weigh down the cabbage with ceramic weights or any other heavy object. The cabbage should be submerged in liquid, and this will prevent mold. Finally, you can put the top on your fermenting vessel. I use a special top with an airlock, which I have found makes the best sauerkraut, but it's not necessary. And if you don't have an airlock, there are 2 things you can do. 1, don't fully tighten the lid, or 2, be sure to burp your jar of cabbage every day. As the kraut ferments, it naturally produces carbon dioxide, and we want to prevent any kitchen explosions. Let the kraut sit in a dark place at room temperature for at least 5 days and up to a month. The longer it goes, the more sour and complex the flavor will become. You can start tasting after 5 days to reach your desired flavor. I let this batch sit for 5 days, and it was perfectly krauty to me. I transfer the kraut from my larger vessel to smaller jars that I will keep in the fridge, and it'll last for 6 to 12 months. Although I wouldn't know because mine never lasts that long, I put this on almost everything. Now you have all the tools you need to make your own sauerkraut at home. Let's get fermenting!